So, as a lot of you guys know, I decided at the beginning of this year to attempt a raw vegan diet. And I have decided that it's not for me. For a number of reasons. I intend to continue eating a lot of raw foods, and there may be days or weeks or months where I go entirely raw because I truly do feel really super good when I eat that way. But I find the diet really, really hard to stick with for a number of reasons. Number one, I'm just not convinced that there's science explaining why eating that way is ostensibly the best way for humans to eat. And it doesn't make sense to me intuitively. I think that humans are omnivorous. I think that we are capable of adapting to many different environments. And it doesn't make sense to me that people would be able to survive and thrive in like way northern latitudes and things like that if that was like the ideal way for humans to eat. I don't know. I think it's all a little bit circumstantial. I think it's a little bit shady. I think that a lot of the people who advocate the raw vegan way of eating, when you look further and further into their life, you sort of tend to think that they're people who kind of live on the extremes, and a lot of them seem to have a lot of body dysmorphia and a history of anorexia or bulimia or issues with food, and it seems like a very extreme solution that is drawn towards super extreme lifestyles. That's just my impression. So I think that when I think about the fact that I feel like there's really ample evidence that eating a whole food plant-based diet is a way for humans to live longer and reduce the incidence of disease. There's lots of really persuasive people who write about this, who have done long-term double-blind studies about this, and I can't find that same evidence for a raw vegan diet. So people who eat rice and potatoes and whole grains with lots and lots of fruits and veggies live for a really long time, and I can confidently say that the data shows us this. But omitting cooked foods like rice or cooked veggies, I don't know. There's no real science to point to say why we should do that. So there's the fact that it doesn't seem to be yet supported by science. I'm not saying it's not true, but the science doesn't exist. And then there's the fact that I just can't find any role models within this community who I really super think are like very, very smart and legitimate. And in fact, a lot of the whole food plant-based people who I do think are really, really smart and legitimate are like not on this bandwagon. I think there's like my just skepticism that's been, I think, precluding me from really leaning in hook, line, and sinker to this way of eating. The other challenge is that it's really, really hard to eat out. When I'm on like a regular whole food plant-based diet, I can go to basically any restaurant and order like, rice and vegetables, or a salad or whatever, but not eating any cooked foods and getting adequate servings of uncooked foods is like really super hard. The other thing is that it's really expensive. Frankly, I just can't afford it. Like my grocery bill probably doubled when I was trying to eat this way, and it's just very unsustainable to me for that reason. It's just a financial challenge. That said, I do feel great when I eat lots and lots of uncooked raw veggies and fruit. So I intend very much to continue eating lots and lots of cooked or raw veggies and fruit in addition to cooked veggies and cooked grains and things like that. So I have to say that my experiment with raw veganism was a mixed bag. When I was able to comply with the diet, I did feel really good. I contemplated not releasing the last video in my updates where I sort of talked about how great I was feeling eating this way, because quite shortly thereafter I fell off the bandwagon and just decided it wasn't for me. But I did want to show that for the period of time during this experiment where I was eating this way, I felt really super good. But for the rest of the period of time, I was just struggling to eat this way and not really being able to comply with it. So I think that the best diet for me is one that I can stick with. So I'm gonna stick with a primarily whole food, plant-based diet. I, as you guys may or may not know, basically cook without animal products at home. And when I am out and about, I'll sometimes have like egg or cheese. And I don't feel super good when I eat that way, but it does open up the universe of many things to eat for me when I go to things like brunch or whatever. And I also really still enjoy those foods. So that feels good to me. I don't eat sugar and I don't eat flour, and that's, I think, essential for my health and well-being, probably even more than the whole food plant-based aspect. Cutting those processed foods out of my diet has been extraordinary for my weight loss and feeling good. So I just wanted to update you guys. I am going to be doing, still more diet and like lifestyle videos. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about, the bright line eating way of eating, which is, no sugar, no flour, controlled meal sizes, and timed meals, because that is a way of eating that I think does really work for me. It's not a whole food plant-based way of eating, although its founder is a whole food plant-based eater, so it's flexible enough for people who do eat meat or who eat meat occasionally. But for me, eating that way with the whole food plant-based focus has been what has made me feel best in the long term. And I stayed on that like bright line eating bandwagon throughout the raw vegan experiment. Like I didn't have sugar or flour or anything like that, obviously, but I think just like going back to that is where I feel best. So that's it, you guys. If this is disappointing to you, I'm sorry. I'm trying to take you guys along for the journey with me as my thoughts and minds evolves. I will say that at the beginning, I took my body stats, and I don't want to take them at the end because I know that they're going to be bigger than when I started. So back in January, I weighed in at 179.2, and it's now May, and I'm at like 189. So I gained about 10 pounds. That's not the fault of raw veganism. When I was eating that way, I was down, but I think that like because it was so restrictive, almost when I fell off the bandwagon, I fell like harder off the bandwagon than if I had just continued eating like my normal way, which was pretty like filling and satisfying. So I think that, so I would say in that aspect, it's like not been a great first half of the year for me. It's now May, so 10 pounds, 5 months, not great. Could be worse though. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching and following along with my health journey. I do appreciate it, and comment down below if you have thoughts on this video, and please hit subscribe and like and share and follow us on Instagram, ThatDIYCouple. And until next time, do well and always make things better.